Well, welcome back everybody. My name's Andrew and you're watching the Kelley's Country Life. So today was the big day. Probably one of the most nerve-wracking points leading up to this of anything in the house build yet. I had 5 inspections today, including 2 major ones, electrical and plumbing. So this episode is to let y'all know what happened, if anything was found, and did we pass or not. So for starters, if y'all been watching the channel, you know, it's been a big undertaking to do this by myself, and I've tried my best to do it the right way. I've tried to read code, study, talk to some of y'all that are true professionals in the industry, gain as much knowledge as I can, because whenever you make the decision to do something like this, it doesn't need to be thrown together or just guessed. I'm sure that drives an inspector crazy, plus you're not getting a well-built home. So I've really tried to educate myself on it, and that showed today. It really did. So for starters, one of the first inspections that he checked is called in progress siding. I probably should technically be a little further along than I am now, but he's coming back next week for another inspection checkup, so he'll get to see it even further. But I passed with what he's seen thus far. So basically what he was looking for here is, are you flashing correctly? Are you installing your windows correctly? Although I'll have to get a full door and window sign off later. That's part of an inspection. All my butt joints, did I put flashing cards behind? That's something that my inspector requires here. Your end joints, are they spaced properly to accept caulk? You know, James Hardie requires 1/8 inch gap on the end. So we discussed some of those things. Absolutely no problems there. He gave me the thumbs up. Really appreciated me doing the metal cards, the butt flashing cards as they're called. He says he has a big issue with a lot of professional contractors around here using those and not wanting to. And I don't understand why. They're super cheap and they install so fast, they really don't hold up nothing. Plus it's a great thing to do. And if you're not familiar with those, it's just a metal card that goes behind everywhere that you butt together. You can't really see it in there, but I see a metal card that goes up from here and stops just shy down here. So whenever wind driving rain forces its way in here, and I'm gonna caulk this, but it'll still get past it. It hits that metal card and comes straight down under on top of lap siding, never making it to your vapor barrier. The other thing he said he sees a lot of people doing is running extremely cheap vapor barrier. He was happy to see that I went with Tyvek. That's not required, but hey, it was a good thought. One of the next inspections he did, he gave me some pointers on our gas line here. As you can see, we're doing a pressure test. He has to verify that that holds pressure, and it's been holding for almost a week now. So we're good to go on that. That was a quick inspection. We passed. And then let's go ahead and talk about the 2 big elephants in the room, the 2 huge inspections, electrical and plumbing. And yes, he did find something. And I knew he would. He wouldn't be doing his job if he didn't. But overall, I can say this experience was awesome. It really was. So as far as the plumbing goes, only one thing was just a mention or suggestion. I thought I could do something that I can't, and I haven't done it yet, so it wasn't really a slap on the wrist, it was just a good conversation. So I was thinking I was gonna be able to put my water heater right here. As you can see, the plumbing comes out of the house there. I've got the plumbing coming from the tank over there, and I was gonna put me a filter system in and have everything nice, neat, and tucked together. Well, apparently we cannot put a water heater beside a main meter box. I'm not sure if it has something to do with the gas and ignition source or what. He recommended that I need to put that over here. So ouch, that kind of hurts. I've got to move some plumbing, and I'll have to run that plumbing up and over, and you'll see insulation along the wall. It won't look good, but there's no way to move that plumbing in the wall because there's 6x6 posts and things right here. So I hate that, but I'm glad he went ahead and suggested that now. Now as far as the rest of my plumbing goes, he passed me. No issues, nothing at all. And we actually had a really good conversation. So electrical, this is where he found just a couple of minor things. So let's go ahead and discuss them. If y'all watched my electrical episode, I was already a bit confused and unsure if I could do what I've done here. And I even mentioned that in that episode. And it turns out, yeah, he does not want to pass it this way right here. So it's very simple change out. Basically what he said is this green wire that goes into my main panel, for one, you cannot combine 2 conductor wires and a single connector. And he told me something that I knew better, and I knew this. I've got an aluminum wire mixed with a copper wire. You cannot mix 2 different metals like that. That's also not allowed. So basically what happens is this ground wire hooks up to, as you see, also my neutral wire. So technically they're bonded here. So what that means is once this neutral wire is hooked up inside the main panel and I put my bonding screw in there, tying my neutrals and grounds together, this wire services as a ground path out and also my neutral. So there's really no point in having this green wire at all. So this is a very simple fix. We're gonna fix this on the episode. We're just gonna take the green wire out and everything is good to go. So while we're outside, one other thing that he dinged me on, but did not fail me because, well, it's not complete yet. And this isn't my fault. I hired the gas company to install this line, this very crooked line that he brought up, by the way. And turns out code requires that anytime you install a gas line, it has to be grounded. There is no ground in the house, but look at this. And I just read code this morning. Looks like I'm good to go. One of my ground rods is right here. And according to some of the ICC code that I read on this type of gas line, all I've got to do is put a clamp on here, run a ground wire there. Technically, that's not my problem. I hired the gas company to install this. It should have been grounded. And maybe they're gonna do it later, who knows. But the clamp was $3 on Amazon, shipped to my house. I went ahead and ordered it. I've got a piece of ground wire. I can fix that in literally 5 minutes. So all I'm gonna do is put a ground clamp on the pipe, run it down to the grounding rod. Now your gas system is grounded, your gas line, because as I got to reading code, apparently it's been a major problem in the US, lightning strikes. When it hits and your gas line is not grounded, it can actually blow holes out in your gas line. Well, guess what? It's no good then. Then you got to tear it all out or start all over. So that's a 5-minute fix for a potential huge problem down the road. We're in Florida, lightning capital of the world. So I'm definitely going to ground that. All right, the only other thing that he found, and again, he didn't hold me up for these because he's going to do a quick check and he knows that I'm going to fix this stuff. The dishwasher outlet. Somebody brought this up a while back. Code does state that it has to be readily accessible. Well, the edge of the kitchen sink's gonna stop right here, or the kitchen cabinet. So right here's the dishwasher. I've got a separate circuit run for the dishwasher, just like code requires. However, pulling the dishwasher out is not considered easily accessible. So he said if I will move this plug over to inside the kitchen cabinet and have it poking out to where you could just reach in here and unplug the dishwasher, that qualifies. Now my wire's a bit short. I'm gonna have to do a little bit of moving around. We're gonna fix that on this episode as well. So moving over to this other panel, you can see I've already disconnected this green wire that was coming in from the outside that was hooked right there on that neutral lug. So what you can't see is a green bonding screw that I had to put in back there. You put that on your first means of disconnect. This is my first means. You separate grounds and neutrals. I talked about this in the episode where I installed the sub panel outside and this. You install grounds and neutrals separately on a sub panel, you bond them together in here. So technically this wire isn't needed because I've already bonded my ground to the neutral outside. So technically my neutral / ground bar in here just grounds right back out through the neutral wire itself. So this is literally a 30-second fix right here. No big deal at all. Everything else passed. All right, so before we wrap this episode up and start fixing a few of these things right here, I just want to say the overall experience, it was awesome. It really was. I'm blessed to have a good inspector that's eyeballing and questioning things, but I can tell you what really impressed him this morning. He come in right off the rip and was talking to me about some plumbing over here behind me. And I started quoting code and the reason I did a certain thing that I did. He was asking that. He kind of gave me a look like, okay. Then when we made it over to the electrical panel, there was some confusion there because he thought that was my sub panel inside. But long story short, I started quoting code again about the separation of grounds and neutrals and a few other things. So he stopped and he says, I want to thank you for actually taking the time to read the code. He says, that's impressive. You could tell that the look on his face told me that nobody takes time to do that. There's probably a lot of people out there that want to do things as a homeowner, takes no time to study and research this stuff. And I'm sure it makes his job miserable because then he has to come in and be the bad guy. I don't once feel like he's been the bad guy here. I think he can see that I'm legitimately trying to read the code. I can tell that we're starting to develop some trust there. Now, yeah, he's still dinging me on some stuff. He has in the past too, but he's tactful about it. This is why this should be this way. Just get it fixed, no issues. We'll check up on it whenever I come do another inspection. It's not badge waving or I'm gonna shut you down or I haven't once heard that this is why you hire a professional. Well, some people probably need to if you're not going to take the time to learn it the right way, but I haven't got that feeling once from him at all, or any of those type of speeches. So it's been an awesome experience. We're technically passed. He gave me the go-ahead for installation. He's going to do just a quick checkup on these two things. Very simple. Installation's not for several more days. We're going to knock out these things today, minus the gas line, which does not have to be done before installation. So just wanted to give y'all an update, let you know that it was a great experience. It went even better than I ever expected. So we're going to keep plugging on and moving forward right there. So I guess let's fix these couple things, wrap this up, because I got a lot of other stuff to do. All right, so there it is, 2 very minor fixes. I'm still amazed out of all the work that I've done over the last few months. When you think about it, that's the only 2 things I had to do, plus the gas pipe clamp, which is, again, a couple minute job, no big deal. So reading the codes, listening to y'all, taking y'all's advice, thank y'all so much for everybody that's filled me in. Man, it really paid off. Now, I'm sure there's still some of y'all that are gonna see some things that, hey, may not have passed in your area. If there's one thing I'm learning, and the inspector and I talked about this morning, can't speak, between the national code, state code, and local municipality code, yes, things are going to be different. National code's kind of a general reference, state in the same way, and local is going to change it up some as well. And we actually got to talking. I don't know if a lot of y'all realize there is some states and some areas of some states in this country right here where you don't pull a single permit to build an entire house. You maybe are required to have an electrician come out and check, but there's a lot of areas, some of y'all even live in them, that I could build this house and never once have an inspector come out. It's just not required. Think about that for a minute. So yeah, there's some things here that may not have looked right for your area, and vice versa. There's some things that wouldn't have passed here that would pass in your area. So that's just the way it is. Overall, everything looks safe. I think people get too caught up in little things like a staple here and a clamp there and those things like that. Yeah, code states some of that stuff. Absolutely follow it. But what these guys' jobs really are is the electrical safe? Is it going to burn your house down? Are these gas lines safe? Is plumbing going to flood it? Is your vent system going to back up gases in your house? They're looking at proper flows in major systems, it seems like, instead of the little nitpicky stuff. Not saying they're not eyeballing it. I watched him as he was walking around. He's looking at staples. He's looking at grounding, make sure there's grounding wire nuts and stuff going on in there, tugging on some wires occasionally, but checking every single box and going through like people think. I just don't think that's the reality. I'm sure there's some inspectors out there that are like that are at your house all day long making sure you didn't do something wrong, or some people get off on finding that one little thing that you did wrong. Just reached out to the spray foam installer. He has already given me the thumbs up. He's coming next week. So over the next few days and one episode that I'm already currently filming, we're going to seal the house up. I got a few more goodies I'm going to add on because, well, overdue is what I do. Nothing that'll affect the inspections that I just had. I think you're going to be shocked by one of them. Some of y'all are going to be like, this dude's crazy. Some of y'all are going to be like, good thinking. So we got quite a few more things to do. Plus, guess what? We got to clear this house out before the spray foam comes too, and get out of those guys' ways to set up scaffold and everything else. So y'all, it's happening. This house is about to look completely different. I also just got off the phone with the sheetrock guy. He's extremely busy. He's trying to get over tomorrow. So we're about to start knocking things out. And then right behind that's HVAC upstairs. Everything was hinging on these big inspections. Now we're about to make some dramatic changes in the house and my bank account. But hey, the ultimate goal is to have our dream home and try to be debt free. We're working so hard toward it. Thank y'all so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next episode.